Okay guys, so this is task 1.3. So on this task, we will be introducing 3D. Okay, so on this 3D, this is kind of a more complicated building, because on this building we have right angle, and then we have to use straight, draw tool on some of its parts. Also in this building, it's kind of tall. Okay, so I'm gonna show you how to use this one. Okay, so let's proceed to the task. Okay, so the actual task is you have to draw it using the right angle tool. Okay, so look for the clearest edge that you could find. Okay. So what I would do here is, since that it's just one slant, I can probably do that and then remove that point later. So what I'm doing is actually planning ahead on how to draw it, since I could manipulate the points at any time that I want. Okay, so I could just delete it, press, and then specify it, hover over it, and then press 2. So that is perfectly drawn. Okay, so I'm gonna set the vector here. Okay, so that is where the side will go, directly to the bottom. Okay, so that is how you select it, and then you press control, and then you drag it down. So that is how you draw task 1.3. Okay guys, so on this task 1.17, so on this task we have to use broader way to draw this 3D building. Since the side wall is visible, we have to draw this as a 3D. Okay, so it has two layers, the top smaller layer, and then the lower layer. So what we do is we draw the top layer first, and then we drag it all the way to the bottom, and then the other part is we draw using the trace tool, and then we switch between S and F, and then after the last part we switch back to H again, just like what we did on the first video, and then we press space. Okay, so I'm gonna show you how to do that. Okay, so for this we have to draw the top part first. Okay, using right angle, of course, right angle tool. Okay, and then we use the vector here, set the vector, and then drag it all the way to the bottom. Okay, you see that? And then we have to draw the lower portion of this one using trace tool. Okay, so I level it, I put a level on this one, H, and then it shows wait, it's kinda hard since it's so straight. Okay, so I'm gonna use it here. Okay, that is easier. I'm gonna use F now. And then I'm going back to H for me to see the guide. Okay, and then I use space. As you can see, it automatically aligns this part to this part. Okay, so that is the actual look of this task, and then I select it, and then I press 4, of course, to group it, because this is one building. So that is how you draw using broader way. So that is task 1.17. Okay guys, so this is task 1.18. So on task 1.18, we're gonna do exactly what we did in 1.17, but this time, yeah, we have a hidden part, but we could manage to do that, of course. So first off, we have to do the top part, and then the lower parts we have to do all the way later. Okay. So let's go to the actual task. Okay, so what we need to do here is use right angle first, F tool, to draw the top part of the building. Okay, so that is the top part of the building, and then we have to set the vector 3. Since the chimney is very visible, the edge over there is very visible as well, so we have to drag it all over there. Okay, so what we need to do now is press H. Okay, so on this edge you have to press space, and then your guide will show, and then I point there. First gonna draw it because it's trace, and then on my last part, before I press space, I use H and then space. Okay, so it draws this part, and then there's a missing part here. I'm gonna use H. I'm just gonna make sure it's there, right? And then I use F, and then I use H again, and then space. Okay, so you see, this is the way of how you draw. Of course, you're gonna group first. So that is how you draw task 1.18 using Brother Way. Okay, thank you. This is task 1.14. So on this task, we have to use right angle. It's still the same with the other Brother Way of doing 3D. So this is actually residential, but as part of the test, we have to do this using Brother technique, because it's gonna show you how to draw Brother technique, of course. So what you have to do is you draw the top part first, and then you draw the lower parts later. Okay, so what we do is, okay, I'm gonna show you how. So this is the actual task. So I have to do is I have to draw the top part first. So I'm gonna change it later. Okay, so since it's there, I'm gonna put a vector. Okay, so you have to set the vector. I'm going to drag it all the way to the bottom. Doesn't really matter if how tall, because we could adjust it later. Okay, so the next portion of this is use H tool. Okay, here, because this part is somewhat visible. Okay, so this part, use H. And then F. And then H again, so that you can see that one. Okay, you can follow it using H, and then just make sure that it's H, and then use space. You can see, fortunately, it was aligned straight all along, but if it's not aligned straight, you could adjust it. Okay, just adjust it. So this is the top portion, and this is the lower portion, and then you have to group that. Okay, so that is how you draw task 114. Okay, so that will be the look of the house. Task 114. Okay, thank you. Okay guys, this is the task 1.36. So on this task, it's very simple actually. You just need to draw the task as a whole using right angle tool, and then you use cut to cut everything. Okay, So they are different buildings, so no need to group them into one. Okay, so we have to jump into the actual task. Okay, so this actual task, we have to use right angle tool. Okay, so you can see, you don't have to be intimidated if it's like really big or it has lots of cuts in it. It's fairly easy actually. uh, you have to draw it as a whole, and then you have to use cut tool later. Okay, so if you used the correct edge earlier, you should have not problems with cutting it later. Okay, so what I did is I draw it as a whole, and then I could use cut T, point to point, and then cut F, because there's no other point. T, F again, and then I use F here, again here. I could probably use F here. No, not there. Yeah, kind of there. And then F here. And then here. Okay. Another here. So I'm just cutting on some parts that has like clear cuts on them, and then different roof styles. For example, if the style of the roof kind of changes, I also cut that. For example, on this one, this is all brown, and when it comes here, it's not brown anymore. So that changes the style of the roof. So you have to cut it. And for example, on this sides, so here it's clearly a cut here. So different roof style, kind of different building. So those are examples. I use E, C, E, and then I use F, and then T. It's fairly easy actually. I could like draw lots of building in like a minute with this technique. F, T, F, T. Okay, so that is how you do that task. Task 1.36.